The dealership's fluorescent lights buzzed like a swarm of angry wasps, casting a sterile glow over the polished cars and the smug face of the salesman, Greg. For twins Eli and Noah Carter, both 24, the day had started with hope, dreams of driving off in a sleek convertible, a shared gift for their birthday. But now, as Greg's sneer deepened, Eli's heart sank, and Noah's fists clenched, the air thick with something far uglier than rejection. "You two together?" Greg had asked earlier, his tone dripping with disdain as he glanced between the twins and their partners, Malik and Javier, who stood close by. Eli, with his quiet confidence and chestnut hair swept back, had nodded proudly, his hand brushing Malik's. Noah, ever the bolder twin, had smirked and slung an arm around Javier, saying, "Yeah, and we're here to buy, so let's make this quick." But Greg's eyes had narrowed, and what followed was a masterclass in cruelty disguised as customer service. He'd ignored their questions, mocked their budget, and finally, loud enough for the entire showroom to hear, said, "Maybe you'd be better off at a used lot. This place isn't for your kind." The words hit like a slap. Eli felt Malik tense beside him, his dark eyes flashing with restrained anger. Javier, with his easy charm and tousled black hair, stepped forward, voice sharp. "Our kind? Care to explain that?" Greg just chuckled, turning away as if they were invisible. The other customers stared, some whispering, others averting their eyes. Noah's temper flared. He wanted to tear the place apart, but Eli's hand on his arm stopped him. "Not worth it," Eli whispered, though his voice trembled. They left, humiliated, the sting of Greg's words burning deeper than the summer heat outside. Back at their apartment in downtown Seattle, the twins collapsed onto the couch, the weight of the day pressing down. Malik, 26, a graphic designer with a warm smile and a knack for calming Eli's storms, sat cross-legged on the floor, sketching absent-mindedly. Javier, 25, a barista with a quick wit and a love for vintage jackets, paced the room, still fuming. "That guy's a piece of work," Javier muttered. "Who does he think he is?" Noah, sprawled beside Eli, snorted. "Some nobody with a power trip. Bet he's got a sad little life outside that showroom." Eli stared at the ceiling, his mind replaying Greg's sneer. "It's not just him. It's the whole vibe. Like we don't belong." Malik set his sketchpad down, his voice soft but firm. "You belong anywhere you want to be, Eli. Don't let some jerk make you doubt that." Noah nodded, his usual bravado softened. "Yeah, but it still sucks. We just wanted a car, not a lecture on who we are." Their father, Marcus Carter, a self-made real estate tycoon in his late 50s, called that evening. His deep voice crackled through the speakerphone, warm but tinged with concern. "How'd the car shopping go, boys?" The twins exchanged a glance, hesitant. Marcus had always been their rock, fiercely protective since they came out at 16, never once wavering in his support. But telling him about the dealership felt like admitting defeat. Noah, ever blunt, spilled the story, his words sharp with lingering anger. Eli filled in the gaps, his voice quieter but no less raw. Marcus listened in silence, his breathing steady but heavy. When he finally spoke, his tone was calm, almost too calm. "I see. Don't worry about it. We'll handle this." The twins didn't think much of it. Marcus always had a way of making things right, but they assumed he meant a strongly worded complaint or maybe a lawyer. They didn't know that by morning, their father would turn their humiliation into something extraordinary. The next day, Seattle buzzed with its usual rhythm. Ferries gliding across Puget Sound, coffee shops humming with life. But at the dealership, something was different. Greg arrived to find a small crowd outside, murmuring excitedly. A sleek black SUV was parked out front, and a man in a tailored suit stood beside it, holding a set of keys. It was Marcus Carter, his salt and pepper hair catching the morning light, his expression unreadable. Greg frowned, approaching cautiously. "Can I help you, sir?" Marcus smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Oh, I don't need help. I'm here to sign some papers." He gestured to the building behind them, the entire dealership. "As of an hour ago, I own it." Greg's face paled, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The crowd whispered, some pulling out phones to record. Marcus continued, his voice steady but carrying the weight of a man who'd fought too many battles to lose this one. "You're Greg, right? The one who had a problem with my sons." Greg stammered, but Marcus didn't wait for an answer. He turned to the growing crowd, his presence commanding. "This place is under new management. Starting today, it's a business that respects everyone. No exceptions." The onlookers erupted in cheers, and Greg slunk back, his bravado crumbling. Inside, the twins and their partners arrived, summoned by a cryptic text from Marcus. When they saw their father standing there, keys in hand, Eli's eyes widened, and Noah let out a disbelieving laugh. "Dad, what the hell?" Marcus pulled them into a hug, his voice thick with emotion. "No one disrespects my boys. Not on my watch." For Eli and Noah, it wasn't just about the building. It was about their father's unwavering love, a shield against a world that sometimes refused to see them. But the story didn't end there. Owning the dealership was just the beginning, and the twins were about to learn that their fight for respect was far from over. The dealership sign still gleamed under the Seattle drizzle, but inside, everything was changing. Marcus had wasted no time. By noon, he'd called a meeting with the staff, his broad shoulders filling the doorway of the manager's office. Eli and Noah stood behind him, still reeling from the morning's revelation. Malik and Javier hovered nearby, exchanging glances of awe and amusement. The employees, a mix of nervous and curious faces, gathered in the showroom, their whispers fading as Marcus began to speak. "I didn't buy this place to play games," Marcus said, his voice steady but laced with steel. "Yesterday, my sons were humiliated here. That ends now. This dealership will be a place where everyone is treated with dignity." He paused, letting the words sink in. "If that's a problem for anyone, the door's right there." A few employees shifted uncomfortably, but most nodded, some even clapping. Eli felt a warmth spread through him, though his stomach still churned with the memory of Greg's words. Noah, meanwhile, scanned the room, his eyes daring anyone to challenge their father. Greg wasn't in the meeting. Rumor had it he'd stormed out after Marcus's announcement, muttering about overreactions. But the twins knew better than to think one man's exit would fix everything. The dealership was a microcosm of the world outside, full of people who might smile to your face but whisper slurs behind your back. Eli leaned toward Noah, whispering, "This feels too easy." Noah's jaw tightened. "Yeah, bet there's more snakes in the grass." That afternoon, Marcus handed the twins a set of keys, not to a car, but to the dealership itself. "You two are running this place," he said, his eyes gleaming with pride. "I'm not here to micromanage. I trust you to make it right." Eli blinked, overwhelmed. He'd studied business in college, sure, but running a dealership? Noah, who'd always been more hands-on, grinned. "Hell yeah, Dad. Let's do this." Malik and Javier chimed in, offering to help with branding and community outreach. The idea was daunting but thrilling, a chance to turn a place of pain into a beacon of acceptance. The first week was chaos. Eli dove into the books, discovering the dealership was bleeding money from poor management and inflated contracts. Noah tackled the showroom floor, charming customers but clashing with a few veteran salespeople who bristled at his authority. One of them, a middle-aged man named Carl, was particularly vocal. "I've been here 15 years. he snapped one day, cornering Noah by a pickup truck. You think you can just waltz in and change everything? Noah didn't flinch. Yeah, Carl, I do. And if you've got a problem with me or my brother, take it up with the guy who owns the building. Carl's attitude wasn't isolated. Whispers circulated among some staff grumblings about special treatment and pushing agendas. Eli overheard a conversation in the break room, two mechanics joking about the gay twins running the show. He froze, his coffee cup trembling in his hand. Malik, who'd stopped by to drop off lunch, saw the hurt in Eli's eyes and pulled him aside. They don't get to define you, Malik said, his voice a quiet anchor. You're doing something bigger than them. Eli nodded, but the words lingered, a reminder that owning the building didn't mean owning everyone's respect. Meanwhile, Noah and Javier were planning a relaunch event to rebrand the dealership as inclusive. Javier, with his knack for aesthetics, designed flyers featuring diverse couples and families. The tagline, "Drive Your Way," bold across the top. Noah pushed for a community focus, inviting local LGBTQ+ organizations to the event. But as the plans came together, so did resistance. An anonymous email landed in Eli's inbox, its subject line chilling, "You're not welcome here." The message was short but vicious, warning the twins to back off or face consequences. Noah read it over Eli's shoulder, his face darkening. "Cowards," he muttered, hiding behind a keyboard. Eli wanted to ignore it, but the threat gnawed at him. He thought of their mother, who'd passed when they were kids, and how she'd always told them to stand tall. Marcus, too, had faced his share of hate as a black man building his empire in a cutthroat industry. If their parents could endure, so could they. Still, Eli couldn't shake the unease. He confided in Malik that night, curled up on their couch, the city lights sparkling outside. "What if this is too big for us?" he asked. Malik kissed his forehead. "Then you grow into it. Together." The relaunch event loomed, and with it, the chance to prove themselves, or to face whatever was brewing in the shadows. The twins didn't know it yet, but the anonymous email was just the start of a storm that would test their courage, their love, and the strength of their family. The relaunch event was a gamble, but Eli and Noah poured everything into it. The dealership's lot sparkled under strings of fairy lights, with food trucks lining the perimeter and a local band playing upbeat covers. Javier's flyers had done their job. Hundreds of people showed up, from curious locals to members of Seattle's LGBTQ+ community. Eli worked the crowd, his shy smile disarming even the skeptics, while Noah, ever the showman, gave tours of the showroom, cracking jokes and handing out keychains. Malik and Javier manned a booth for a local youth charity, their easy chemistry drawing smiles from passers-by. But beneath the festive vibe, tension simmered. Eli noticed a group of men lingering near the entrance, their faces hard and their whispers sharp. One of them, a wiry guy with a faded tattoo on his forearm, kept glaring at Noah. Eli's gut twisted. He recognized the look from the dealership that day, the same disgust Greg had worn. He nudged Noah, who followed his gaze and muttered, "Trouble." They didn't have time to dwell on it. A reporter from a local paper approached, asking for an interview about the dealership's new direction. Eli took a deep breath, channeling his father's calm authority, and spoke about inclusion and second chances. Noah chimed in, his charisma lighting up the conversation. The reporter left impressed, promising a glowing write-up. As night fell, the event hit its peak. A drag queen MC took the stage, hyping up the crowd for a raffle. Eli and Noah stood side by side, watching their vision come to life. Malik slipped his hand into Eli's, whispering, "You did this." Javier, leaning against Noah, grinned. "Told you we'd make it epic." For a moment, it felt like they'd won. Not just the dealership, but something deeper, a foothold in a world that didn't always want them. Then the crash came. A loud bang echoed from the back lot, followed by shouts. The crowd froze, and Eli's heart plummeted. He and Noah sprinted toward the sound, Malik and Javier close behind. In the dim light, they saw it. One of the display cars, a cherry-red sedan, had its windshield shattered, glass glittering on the pavement. Spray-painted across the hood in jagged letters was a single word: fags. The crowd murmured, some stepping back, others pulling out phones. Eli's knees buckled, but Malik caught him, his voice steady. "We're okay. We'll fix this." Noah, though, was a live wire. "Who did this?" he roared, scanning the crowd. The men from earlier were gone, vanished into the night. Security, hired at Marcus's insistence, combed the lot but found nothing. The police arrived, taking statements, but their questions felt perfunctory, their glances lingering too long on the twins' clasped hands. Marcus arrived soon after, his face a mask of fury and resolve. "This stops now," he said, pulling Eli and Noah into a fierce hug. "You hear me? You don't back down." The next morning, the vandalism made headlines, but not the way the twins feared. The reporter from the event spun it into a story of resilience, praising the Carters for standing firm. Social media buzzed with support, hashtags like "Drive Your Way" trending locally. But the hate mail kept coming, more anonymous emails, even a threatening voicemail left on the dealership's line. Eli tried to focus on repairs, ordering a new windshield and scrubbing the paint himself, but each message chipped away at him. Noah, meanwhile, was relentless, digging into the dealership's records for clues about who might be targeting them. He found something odd: a series of payments to an unregistered vendor, signed off by none other than Greg. "Think he's behind this?" Noah asked, showing Eli the paperwork. Eli frowned, uncertain. "He's a jerk, but this feels bigger." They decided to confront Greg, tracking him down at a dive bar across town. He was slouched at the counter, nursing a beer, and his smirk returned the moment he saw them. "What, you gonna fire me again?" he slurred. Noah leaned in, voice low. "We know about the payments, Greg. Spill or I'll make sure everyone knows." Greg's bravado faltered, but he only laughed. "You think I'm scared of you? You're in over your heads, kids." Back at the dealership, the twins shared their findings with Marcus, who promised to hire a private investigator. But the real blow came that night, when Eli found Malik staring at his phone, his face pale. "What's wrong?" Eli asked, dread pooling in his chest. Malik turned the screen toward him. A photo of the two of them from the event, posted online with a caption calling them disgusting. The comments were worse, a flood of vitriol that made Eli's stomach turn. Malik, usually unshakable, looked shaken. "I thought I was ready for this," he admitted. "But it's heavy." Eli pulled him close, his own fears mirrored in Malik's eyes. They were fighting for more than a dealership now, for their right to exist, to love, to be seen. And as the threats grew darker, the twins realized they'd need more than their father's money or their own grit to win this battle. The investigator Marcus hired was a no-nonsense woman named Carla, a former cop with a knack for uncovering secrets. She dug into the dealership's records and Greg's connections, her sharp eyes missing nothing. Within days, she had a lead. The suspicious payments Noah found traced back to a shell company linked to a local real estate rival, Victor Hargrove. Hargrove, a slick developer in his 60s, had been outbid by Marcus on several properties, including the dealership. Carla suspected he was orchestrating the harassment to sabotage the Carters' new venture. "He's got motive and means," she said, handing Marcus a folder of evidence. "But we need more to nail him." Eli and Noah threw themselves into keeping the dealership afloat while Carla worked. Business was picking up, thanks to the viral support from the relaunch, but every sale felt like a defiance of the hate piling up in their inboxes. Eli focused on customer relations, his quiet empathy winning over hesitant buyers. Noah, meanwhile, trained the staff, weeding out those who couldn't align with the new vision. Carl, the veteran salesman, quit in a huff, muttering about changing times. Noah didn't miss him. But the threats were escalating. A brick sailed through the dealership's front window one night, narrowly missing Javier, who'd been working late on new signage. The police called it a random act, but the twins knew better. Malik, shaken by the close call, suggested they pull back, maybe sell the dealership and walk away. "Is it worth this?" he asked Eli one evening, his voice raw. Eli hesitated, torn between fear and resolve. "If we give up, they win," he said finally. "And I'm not letting them take this from us." Noah, meanwhile, was done playing defense. He and Javier hatched a plan to draw out their harasser. They leaked a fake story to a local gossip blog, claiming the dealership was hosting a high-profile LGBTQ plus charity gala, with Marcus and the twins as key speakers. The bait worked. Carla's team caught a man tampering with the dealership's security cameras the night before the supposed event. He wasn't Hargrove, but he was one of his hired hands, a low-level thug named Eddie. Under pressure, Eddie spilled enough to implicate Hargrove in the vandalism and threats. Armed with this, Marcus confronted Hargrove at a city council meeting, where the developer was schmoozing for a new contract. In front of Seattle's elite, Marcus laid out the evidence, bank records, Eddie's confession, even phone logs tying Hargrove to Greg. The room fell silent as Marcus's voice boomed. "You thought you could scare my family out of business. You thought wrong." Hargrove's face reddened, his denials weak. By the next day, his reputation was in tatters, and the police were building a case. The twins felt a fleeting sense of victory, but it came at a cost. The dealership was thriving, but the constant vigilance had worn them down. Eli and Malik's relationship, usually a haven, was strained by late nights and unspoken fears. Noah and Javier, too, bickered over small things, their usual spark dimmed by stress. One night, the four of them sat in the twins' apartment, the weight of the past weeks heavy between them. "We're stronger than this," Noah said, breaking the silence. "We have to be." Eli nodded, reaching for Malik's hand. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about everyone who's ever been told they don't belong." Javier, his eyes softening, added, "Then let's make it count." They decided to turn the dealership into more than a business. A community hub, with workshops for queer youth and partnerships with local nonprofits. It was a bold move, but it felt right, a way to channel their pain into purpose. As winter settled over Seattle, the twins prepared for a real gala, this time to celebrate their vision. The threats hadn't stopped entirely, but they were fewer, less bold. Hargrove's arrest was pending, and Greg had left town, his tail between his legs. The twins, their partners, and Marcus stood together, ready to face whatever came next. They'd learned that love, between brothers, partners, and a father who'd move mountains for his sons, was their greatest weapon. The gala was unlike anything Seattle had seen. The dealership's lot was transformed into a glittering wonderland, with rainbow flags fluttering alongside strings of white lights. Tables overflowed with food from local vendors, and a stage hosted performers from the city's queer community. Singers, poets, even a comedian who roasted the twins lovingly. Eli and Noah, dressed in sharp blazers, moved through the crowd, their smiles genuine but hard-earned. Malik and Javier were at their sides, their presence a quiet reminder of what they'd fought for. Marcus took the stage midway through the night, his voice carrying over the chatter. "This place," he said, gesturing to the dealership, "was built on a dream, not just mine but my son's. They faced hate here, but they didn't let it define them. Tonight, we're not just selling cars. We're building a future where everyone belongs." The crowd erupted, and Eli felt tears prick his eyes. Noah squeezed his shoulder, his own eyes shining. The gala raised thousands for queer youth programs, but more than that, it sent a message. The dealership, now called Carter's Inclusive Auto, was a beacon in the community. Customers came not just for cars but for the story, a family that turned pain into power. Eli and Noah hired diverse staff, from trans mechanics to non-binary salespeople, and offered internships for local teens. The hate mail dwindled, drowned out by letters of gratitude from strangers who'd found hope in their story. But the twins' journey wasn't without scars. Eli still woke some nights, haunted by the memory of that spray-painted word. Malik was there each time, his steady presence pulling Eli back to safety. Noah, too, carried the weight of their fight, though he hid it behind his grin. Javier knew better, calling him out one quiet morning over coffee. "You don't have to be the tough guy all the time," he said. Noah sighed, leaning into him. "I know. I'm trying." Months later, as spring bloomed, the twins stood outside the dealership, watching a young couple, a trans woman and her girlfriend, drive off in their first car, beaming. Eli turned to Noah, his voice soft. "This is why we kept going, right?" Noah nodded, his smirk softer now. "Yeah. And Dad didn't do half bad either." They laughed, the sound carrying over the lot where it all began. Marcus joined them, his eyes crinkling with pride. "You boys made this happen," he said. "Not me." But they all knew the truth. It was their love, for each other, for their partners, for a world that could be better, that had turned a place of humiliation into a symbol of triumph. The dealership wasn't just a building anymore. It was a promise, kept against all odds, that hate would never have the last word.